And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to...
Can a single podcast clip really dismantle a daytime TV empire? Imagine a stage set for a battle nobody saw coming. A conservative firebrand armed with facts, a talk show titan cloaked in applause, and an internet ready to explode with memes and hot takes. In the summer of 2022, Charlie Kirk, the relentless founder of Turning Point USA, locked horns with Whoopi Goldberg, the unchallenged queen of The View.
Charlie Kirk's the founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
What unfolded wasn't just a war of words. It was a digital uprising that left viewers questioning the polished veneer of mainstream media. Picture a spark igniting a wildfire, spreading across screens faster than you can say viral. Buckle up, because this story's got more twists than a thriller novel and more receipts than a year-end expense report. Let's jump right in. It all kicked off in July 2022.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me. And it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry. Okay. So, the state,
In the sweltering heat of Tampa, Florida, the Turning Point USA Student Action Summit was in full swing, a high-energy gathering drawing 5,000 high school and college students from every corner of the country. Picture a convention center buzzing with young conservatives, hyped up to hear from heavyweights like Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, and Kayleigh McEnany. The vibe was electric. Workshops on leadership, panels on free speech, and a palpable sense.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away with it.
Of defiance against the status quo. These kids weren't just there to listen. They were there to be part of something bigger, a movement they believed could shape the future. But outside the venue, trouble was brewing. A small group of controversial protesters, uninvited and unwanted.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Showed up with signs and slogans, stirring chaos on the sidelines. Summit organizers scrambled to keep them at bay, making it crystal clear these agitators had no place inside. Yet, that thin line of separation was about to be obliterated by a single comment. Who was ready to light the match? Enter Whoopi Goldberg, reigning supreme from the glossy set of The View, where her word often carries the weight of gospel. For years, she's been a daytime TV juggernaut, her voice booming with the kind of righteous certainty that could power a city grid. On a Monday episode, with the studio audience hanging on her every syllable, she dropped a bombshell. She claimed the TPUSA summit had embraced those outside agitators, implying the event and its thousands of young attendees were cozying up to some seriously sketchy figures. The accusation landed like a grenade, met with gasps, nods, and the predictable chorus of claps from the live audience. To Whoopi's fans, it was just another truth bomb from their fearless host. But to those who knew the summit's reality, it was a reckless jab that painted 5,000 kids as guilty by association.
Now we begin with a shocking apology just a short time ago from the ladies of The View to Turning Point USA. A war of words broke out after the conservative group was rallying the next generation of voters at its youth summit in Tampa, Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside.
The stage was set for a showdown, but how would anyone dare challenge the queen of midday TV? Charlie Kirk didn't just step, he strode in with the calm of a chess master about to checkmate. From his podcast studio, far from The View's glitzy lights, Kirk unleashed a response that was less a rant and more a surgical strike. No yelling, no theatrics, just cold, hard facts delivered with the precision of a laser. He clarified the protesters were outside, not inside, and had no ties to TPUSA. He painted a vivid picture of the real victims. Thousands of students, some as young as 16, who'd saved up to attend, only to be smeared as extremists on national TV. These kids came to learn, not to be dragged through the mud, he said, his voice steady but searing. Kirk didn't just defend his organization. He turned the tables, calling out The View for its gross elitism and disconnect from everyday people. By the time he leaned back in his chair, his clip was already catching fire online. Why did it spread so fast? The internet didn't just pick up Kirk's response. It ran with it like a sprinter in the Olympics. Within hours, X was ablaze with posts dissecting Whoopi's claim. Memes flooded Instagram reels, with one viral image showing Whoopi's face photoshopped onto a shocked Pikachu template captioned, "When facts hit harder than applause." YouTube Shorts racked up millions of views, with creators like The Quartering and Timcast stitching Kirk's clip with their own commentary, calling it a masterclass in media takedown. Reddit threads multiplied, with users digging into the views. History of shaky claims. Did she just make that up? One ex-user posted, racking up thousands of likes. Another quipped, "Whoopi's out here throwing shade, but Charlie brought the spotlight." The clip wasn't just content, it was a cultural lightning bolt, striking at the heart of daytime TV's untouchable aura. But would The View stand its ground or start to crumble? The answer came faster than a commercial break. Days after Kirk's response, Whoopi took to The View's airwaves with a rare apology. "I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters. Outside," she admitted, her usual fire dialed back. "My bad, I'm sorry." The words were prompted by a scathing cease and desist letter from TPUSA, accusing the show of defamation and threatening legal action. Behind the scenes, whispers swirled. Some said the apology was a legal necessity, not a change of heart. On X, users debated its sincerity, with one viral post reading, "Whoopi's sorry sounds like it came with a lawyer's signature." Kirk, meanwhile, wasn't ready to let it go. "We're still talking to top lawyers," he said on O, his podcast hinting at a potential lawsuit. The apology was a crack in The View's armor, but the real question was whether it would hold. What happened next would leave everyone stunned. This wasn't just a spat, it was a turning point. For years, daytime talk shows like The View operated like untouchable fortresses, their hosts delivering hot takes with the safety of applause and pre-screened audiences. But Kirk's response exposed a chink in that armor, the power of digital fact-checking. He didn't need a studio or a guest spot to make his point. All it took was a microphone, a Wi-Fi connection, and a knack for spotting contradictions. This wasn't the first time traditional media faced a digital challenge. Think of Joe Rogan calling out CNN's COVID coverage or ex-users dismantling clickbait headlines, but it was one of the sharpest. The incident showed that a single, well-placed fact could cut through years of polished rhetoric. Viewers began to wonder, how many other claims slipped through unchallenged? The internet was no longer just a platform. It was a courtroom, and the audience was the jury. But the real game changer? The audience itself. Young viewers, especially Gen Z conservatives who'd attended the summit, didn't just watch the drama unfold. They joined it. On X, students shared their summit stories, posting photos and videos of packed panels and enthusiastic crowds, countering the View's narrative with first-hand accounts. I was there, and it was about ideas, not extremists. One user wrote, their post racking up thousands of retweets. YouTube reaction channels exploded, with creators like Viva Frey breaking down the legal angles of TPUSA's cease and desist. Hashtags like TPUSA Summit and Whoopi Apology trended, turning viewers into active participants. This wasn't just Kirk versus Goldberg. It was a generation pushing back against a media machine they felt had misrepresented them. The energy was raw, unfiltered, and unstoppable. But where would it lead? Even now in 2025, the ripples are still felt. X posts this year reference the clash as a case study in media accountability, with some users calling the View's apology a hollow gesture driven by fear of a lawsuit. Others speculate that TPUSA leans into controversies like this to boost its profile, though Kirk insists his focus is on empowering young voices. The summit itself has grown, with TPUSA hosting bigger events, but questions linger. Do these gatherings still attract unwanted attention? No hard evidence ties them to the 2022 protesters, but the internet loves a good rumor. The bigger story is the shift in power. A single clip, a single voice, can now challenge a media giant, and audiences are watching closer than ever. What's the next narrative that'll get flipped on its head? So here's the real takeaway. This clash wasn't just about Whoopi or Charlie or a single summer summit. It was a wake-up call for anyone who's ever nodded along to a TV talking. Head without a second thought. The internet has changed the game, giving everyday people, students, creators, you, the tools to fact-check, question, and push back. Next time you hear a bold claim on TV, don't just clap. Hit pause, dig deeper. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What's the last time you saw a media moment that didn't add up? Let's keep this conversation alive, because if one podcast can shake an empire, imagine what we can do together.